Good evening. The opinions and statements voiced by our guests do not necessarily reflect the opinions of this network. Enjoy the shows.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army. Army officers say the missile, found sometime last week, has been inspected at Roswell, New Mexico, and sent to Wright Field, Ohio, for further inspection.
Now, historic films made in the spring of 1948 and just released show Eniwetok preparing for heavily guarded and still largely secret tests of new atomic weapons. The test's purpose is to measure atomic effects on thousands of different materials, 30,000 tons of them, not, as at Bikini, to prove military effectiveness.
San Francisco police say that 9 persons have been arrested in a narcotics raid on the headquarters of the Grateful Dead, a widely popular singing group. 2 members of the group, Rod McKernan and Robert Weir, and their business manager, Danny Rifkin, have been booked on suspicion of possessing narcotics.
3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11. Tower cleared.
We got a roll program. Neil Armstrong reporting the roll and pitch program, which puts Apollo 11 on a proper heading.
I'm going to step off the limb now. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Well, strange lights are causing a viral buzz on YouTube. Could we have caught extraterrestrial activity on a recent newscast? Brandon Arroyo investigates.
As the newscast ended, the controversy began back on September 26th. What is that light shining in the back of the dark night sky?
With coverage reaching all the way back to 1948, for over 70 years, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Now, Fate Magazine Radio is carrying on that tradition of setting the standard in paranormal talk radio as we report and discuss some of the most mysterious and perplexing phenomena imaginable in this strange world of ours. Now, here is your host of Fate Magazine Radio, Kat Hobson.
Good evening. Welcome to Fate Mag Radio, the online voice of Fate Magazine. I am Kat Hobson, your host, and I am so excited to be welcoming my friend, Rick Mccallum. Rick is a SAG actor, a stuntman and stunt coordinator. He is the founder with his friend, Kane Hodder, of Hollywood Ghost Hunters. He is also the author of the 2020 Paranormal Book of the Year, Ghosts Believe in Me. And I am so proud to call him my friend. We have been friends since Scarefest several years ago, and we just kind of had that friendship take off like a couple of runaway horse thieves, and I'm so glad it did. Rick, thank you so much for being here. I am looking forward to this conversation. It's been fun ever since. He's somebody that I admire greatly because of his strength of character and his compassion for others. I admire the fact that if there is something that has happened that has caused harm to someone, he seeks to remedy that. He is an excellent ghost hunter that I enjoy investigating with. He's a great stuntman. Of course, his friend Kane isn't shabby either. That scene in We'll ask him. The scene where he is cut in half by Kane is just kind of like, oh my goodness. And it's not abdominally either. So even I cringed. Okay. But as a rule, he's just a good human. So if you're ready, I'm going to bring him on. Hi, Rick.
Hi, Kat.
How you doing?
Did you ever think that we're really good friends because we're so much alike?
You keep telling me that. It's just like you keep telling me that your only superpower is that people are nice to you. I correct you every time.
You've seen it happen. By the way, that may be my superpower, but your superpower is keeping your talents under wraps, which I'm trying very hard to make you stop. Because
I'm doing better.
You are doing better. But I've had the benefit of ghost hunting with you and talking to you for probably a decade on the phone in 1 week. But,
true.
You are a marvelous investigator. I mean, and you got your fingers in so many pies that you're interested in: UFOs, cryptids, noetics. You know, you should be one of the people at these conventions. You should be one of the people up there being the speakers. And I've been saying that for a long time. And not because you're my friend. It's just that if I knew you were at a convention, I'd go listen to you. So.
Thank you. Well, you know, I put together that bio and kind of like a "this is me" thing to put in the paranormal events page. And the next week, COVID hit. The lockdown from COVID hit. So probably I will go back and update that because things have changed since then. But I love what I do. I love investigating. I love meeting the people at public events. I absolutely loved when I was on TV, and that was fun because I did not know that Jack Osborne had never been touched by a spirit until he was at Paulding Jail. So that was neat.
Well, you know what I thought? I watched it because you were on there, and actually I watch it most of the time. I find it to be a pretty good show.
Me too.
Something happened, and they kind of glossed over what happened to your story, which is one of the most fascinating stories I've ever heard. And just because I seem to have taken over this whole show for a second.
But I don't mind letting you. You can do that.
You should really tell them what happened at the old Paulding jail with you that got you on that TV show.
Oh, my goodness. Well, it was just crazy because I had left Scarefest to go there because Shelley Robertson and I were hosting our shows on a different network. And when I got there, it was great. I'd been there before, and the spirits knew me. I was setting up, testing to do a live show. I went upstairs to the third floor. Everything was fine. The, people on that floor, including the sheriff and the child spirit, were fine with me and didn't, give us any grief about being up there. When I went into the first floor cell block, I set my computer on the table, the only table in that cell block, and all heck broke loose. And it started gradually, and then my electronics started showing that I had no connectivity, which was bizarre because I was hardwired. I knew that wasn't possible. But primarily, there were people stomping all around me. And that got my attention. And then I started hearing the fire doors. Each floor has one, and the stairwell for them is still encased in razor wire because it hasn't been that long since it wasn't a jail. And it was still with it, and that's pretty good security. And so, they obviously didn't take it down because it's good security. So the final straw for me, and my producer had messaged me that I did have connectivity, that he was hearing this stuff, and he would let me know when it was time to go. And so when the doors started slamming like these big cast iron doors were slamming, but they weren't moving. Dead in my face. I'm sitting right there. I'm hearing them slam, and nothing is moving.
Yeah, that's just bizarre.
Well, it was very bizarre. And, I have been in locations that had negative things. Old Potting Jail does not generally have negative experiences. Period. I mean, I've been there. They have resident spirits. They have some transients that come through. And I don't know. It's not my afterlife, right? I don't know why they choose to be there. And but they're there. So it's not my job to really understand that. My job right then was to find out why they kept this up, because I wasn't going to be able to do a show if that continued. And because I was getting mad too. And so all of us mad wasn't a good thing. A few minutes later, my producer said, "Probably want to go now. Take that computer with you." So we walked out of the cell block. Shelley went to the kitchen. I went to put my stuff up in the office. And I went into the kitchen, and she has a portal. One of the electronic portals. And she turned it on. And I said, "Probably you want to start this conversation because I'm pretty livid right now. And I might get us all in trouble." But she asked who it was that had messed with my equipment. And you heard this real smug male voice say, "I did." And I said, "Well, who are you?" And didn't get a name. And I looked at Shelley, and I was just like, I need to know this. I need to know why they were so upset. Well, I did know that a person had been found hung there. And he had been hanging over that table. His feet actually touched the table. So I don't think it was a natural hanging. I don't think it was him hanging himself, because his feet wouldn't have been there.
Well, besides that, if he had hung himself, he wouldn't be all as mad about it as he was.
Right. And I think that the spirits felt like that was sacred ground and that I had violated it. And so we had a long discussion using the portal. And I said, you know that I come from Birmingham, right? Because I've been here before. You know who I am. And they were like, "Yeah." And so I said, "I'm here because, Shelley is trying her best to make this jail investigation center, research center. And I'm here to help her do that. I'm here to help her publicize it. And, if she hadn't bought this, it was being sold at auction. It probably would not be here. So she saved your home. Where would you be if this jail wasn't here now?" Well, that changed the whole conversation. And things got better. Things got lighter. And I got over being mad, and they did too. So everybody was like singing Kumbaya and whatever, but not really. But it was more comfortable. So Shelley said, "So can we do our show from the cell block?" And it was absolutely not. And I was just like, whatevs. So
that's pretty good story. I mean, with the doors slamming and a guy hung himself right over your table, and I mean that's just downright bizarre.
Well, it was. Have you ever had things move that you were looking? Have you ever heard things make noise that you were looking at but not be moving?
Yeah, actually, there was that happened at Old South Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
I had been on the third floor, or third, or I'm not sure which floor it was, where they have the old-time telephone that goes off at 1:30 in the morning, and there's no telephone wires in the building. And I'm walking along, and I heard it, and I went, "Okay, now that was pretty good. Not big enough to impress me, but pretty good." I said, "Do something bigger." And all of a sudden, the metal doors that have the bar in it that you hit the bar to open the door?
Yes.
I heard one of those, and I have it on tape somewhere. just slam like, somebody just took it and, swung it as hard as they could because it just went blam, and it reverberated all down the whole staircases and everything else while I was looking at it. It didn't move. Now, could it have been something, below us? Yeah, that was my first question. And I asked the other people, where is the rest of your group? And they were all in a room on the first floor. So, yeah, I have had it happen where something did, but just slammed. So how that works, I have no idea.
Well, I don't either, because metaphysically speaking, it shouldn't.
No, it shouldn't. Like, I would think at Old South Pittsburgh, it was probably one of the other doors because it was on the staircase. Mm-hmm. So if one was below that, it could sound still like it had been up where you were because of the sound going up through the staircase. So, but yeah, that's weird. I've seen other things too where I'm hearing something knocking, and I'm looking where the knock is coming from. There's nothing there.
Right.
So
it was just an interesting moment in time, right? I mean, and you hear about these things all the time. Like, people will describe them in, articles. It's almost like the paranormal, penthouse forum kind of thing. And then the doors began to slam, but there was nothing there. They weren't moving. But it's true. So,
yeah. Well, we can see residual ghosts,
Yes.
Maybe we can get residual sound.
Well, it's logical. But it sure was appropriate. I mean, it was appropriate to that situation for sure. But
no, it's a heck of a good story, and you needed to tell it because people would like to hear that.
Thank you. Well,
sorry I hijacked your show for a few minutes. I'm sorry.
I don't care. Well, because I do have a lot of experiences, and you know them, but because we share and compare. But that's that was neat. But I really thought it was funny that, having never been touched before, that's where Jack Osborne got his touch from the great beyond. Or not so great beyond, depending. But I just thought that was cool.
The first time you get touched is a momentous occasion. Mine happened at actually at Waverly, but that one wasn't as Waverly. Something just slid down my arm in room 502.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was the girl next to me. I thought it was her hair because it was so light, but it wasn't. And I told her something just touched me. And she goes, "Oh, that's cool. I've never." And then she goes, "Oh, something just touched my face." So that was pretty cool. But my first real touching was at Sloss Furnace. And I had been in the boiler room, and I took my camera and I swung it towards the door where they say they see an apparition sometimes. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, I felt like the best way of saying you're in a crowded elevator and somebody's rubbing against you trying to get out.
Yes.
They bumped into like my left shoulder and kind of went across my chest. And I was kind of ticked off because I had the camera up to my face. And I was like, why don't you watch where you're going? I thought it was the other three people that were with us.
Right.
Right? And you could hear on the thing, I said, "Man, watch what you're doing. I got a camera up to my eye." And I turned around, and they're all standing in the same place. I said, "Who touched me?" And they said, "None of us. We're back here." And I was like, "Now, wait a minute." And all of a sudden, the famous everything went ice cold where I got touched.
Right.
So that actually really does happen. So that was actually my first time being touched and wasn't anywhere near my last, that's for sure.
Yeah. They are touchy-feely. But that area of Sloss is so active because, I took my doctor and his children there because his children had always wanted to have a paranormal experience. And kind of since that's like, the name of my other show, I'm interested in that, right? So,
right.
We were down in the boiler room and came out and were upstairs. I mean, there was hardly anybody in Sloss because it was rainy and nobody wants to go there when it's raining because it's open. And as we're walking out, his younger son said, "Oh man, there is something, feels like I'm burning." And when he raised up his shirt, there were scratches. And you have to consider that this was my doctor, right? So he says, "Well, that skin is abraded, son." And I was like,
Doctor told.
I said, "Is it abraded?" And he was like, "It is. It's an abrasion." And now, in saying that, I don't want to give the impression that he is not the coolest doctor who went right with that. I mean, he didn't question it. He didn't question the experience. But I don't know if I'd have been that smooth if my kid, even if he was, old enough to be there, because they were at college. But, I was very leery of going back the first time after that experience. I might have to get a shot that hurt or something, but it was funny.
Well, you know what's strange about that is, and I think I told you this not too long ago, when we were there, we were guests of another group.
Mm-hmm.
And the husband and wife team that were in charge of, that group, we'd already pretty much ghost hunted, and we'd come up from underneath, and we were standing out in the field, and we were way out in the field, probably 50 yards from the building. And the girl all of a sudden goes, "Ow!" She looks at her husband. She goes, "Did I lean on something hot?" And he said, "There's nothing hot out here," right? She goes, "My back is burning." So he lifts up the back of her shirt, and there were 4 scratch marks right down her back that were just starting to welt up. So I know it wasn't something, because you always try and, you give people the benefit of the doubt, but you still check. And I thought, well, maybe they were trying to say, something happened. But this happened right then, because you could see the redness getting redder. You could see the welting starting to come up. So it wasn't something they did 10 minutes ago and now they were talking about it,
Right. Well, we have to go to break. So we will be back right after this. Thank y'all so much for being here. And if you have questions for Rick, pop them in chat. We'll be right back.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting. The best in paranormal talk radio.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Son of a...
Hey, son.
Mother...
Son? What are you doing?
Hey, Mom. I'm getting ready to listen to Periscope Uncensored.
By expanding your vocabulary.
Well, it is uncensored.
Son, the uncensored part of Periscope Uncensored is Jax and I getting down to brass tacks with all aspects of the paranormal. There's no fluff on our show.
So, no off-color commentary?
I didn't say that.
Awesome!
Son?
I just hit my head.
Oh boy. I'll go get you an ice pack. Catch Periscope Uncensored Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, only on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 23 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to Fate Mag Radio, the online voice of Fate Magazine. I am so glad you're here, mainly because this is a great show. I have Rick Mccallum here with me, who is a dear friend and an investigator. He gets to go to some of the coolest places on the planet. And speaking of going to the coolest places on the planet, Rick Mccallum, Lori would like to know, have you been to Paulding Jail yet?
I have not, because I had never been invited to Paulding Jail until recently.
Well, there you go.
So Paulding Jail is definitely on my list. But I'm not going unless Cat Hobson is there to protect me.
I will save you from all those bully spirits. But
yeah, I'm the guy that goes into the castles in the middle of the night and sits down by myself for hours. Yep.
Indeed, and let people think that you're a haint, as it were.
Yep.
That was so funny. The picture was good, though, because you did look like something that was otherworldly.
Well, maybe I am. Who knows?
Lori said if you get there, she'll be there too.
Yay!
You know, there are a lot of really good paranormal teams up in that area. So I would imagine that the crowd would be immense. You know, Doogie has joined with two of his friends, and they are the Fearless Ones. So they do events there a lot. And people love that. People just love paranormal investigation. And I guess when you live where it's so cold most of the time, you have to have, hobbies that lend themselves to being indoors. And Shelley Robertson is my friend who owns that facility. She also hosts Ghost Talk Radio here on this network. But she has gotten central heat and air in the jail now. So it's pretty amazing. Lori in chat says the spirits are starting to like her a little because she is a retired prison guard. I'm not sure what the correct term for that is if I were going to be PC. But everywhere that she goes, like at Mansfield, they know her and they call her Red. At the jail, I believe they call her Red. And Lori, you'll be glad to know that I have got my SLS camera functioning well. People were giving up on me getting the hang of it. But thanks to Scott Grunwald and Jeff Conkle, it works. So, yay.
I know those rascals.
They are rascals. I love them. But they saved my bacon because I won a free one. And as soon as I started, trying to get it operational, the guy told me that, his company quit supporting that. I'm like, I just got it. But
yeah, but they didn't know that you had people.
I have peeps. It was a good thing.
You have peeps, and that's all you need in life.
Well, Scott Grunwald has the same birthday as you, has the same general physical description as you, has not too different. You're a little bit more or less out there than Scott's comfortable being. But it's so funny because he was one of my very first interviews. And I still just love him. I think he's one of the neatest people. So there's that.
Really is.
But
and
y'all are very similar.
As far as Scott being way out there, the very first time I ever met him, he was wearing a tutu.
True that. I can see that. He wears them. He offered you one, did he not?
He did, and I told him, I do enough of that all week. I don't want to do it now.
Too fun.
Yes, it is indeed. By the way, the movie that you were talking about where I get cut in half is Hatchet 2.
Thank you. Yes, I couldn't remember which Hatchet it was, and I didn't want to. But, with friends like that, seriously, I don't think you need enemies.
Well, I did get an acting part in the movie. I did get to have one of the most horrendous deaths in horror movies.
It's epic. It is an epic death.
Well, I saw in a thing where they ranked the top 10 deaths in movies, and me and Colton, he was the guy hiding behind me, ours was in the top 10. So that was really cool.
That's huge. There's been a lot of people killed in movies.
Well, what's weird is I get surprises like that. I find out I'm on a top 10 list. I didn't know that. I found out I won Book of the Year. I didn't know that.
Are you are sitting there breaking my stride. You are too fun. But no, you did win Book of the Year and didn't know it.
I had no clue.
And, you were doing an interview. What day was it? This is Friday? Wasn't it Friday?
Friday.
With Nick.
Yeah, I was talking to Nick Millay.
And found out.
Yeah.
So I think that's fantastic. And the book, for people who do not know, is Ghosts Believe in Me. And it is excellent. So how did you feel, Rick, when you found out that you had won that?
Well, how do you think I felt? There was a whole lot of woo-hoo!
I think you could have been doing some cartwheels, maybe.
Well, I was running back and forth, through the house. Woo-hoo!
Yeah.
Yeah, so, well, sure, I was excited. I mean, I seeing as I didn't even know I was up for an award. I didn't know I didn't know anything about it. And then when I saw the people who had won the other categories, I was like, wow, that's a pretty good list to be on.
That was an astounding list.
So I was actually very happy.
Well, it was huge. That's a huge honor. That is there's so many books, but I still think that in that genre of horror or paranormal, of unusual, I think that book is so good because of how you told your experiences and how you brought people into experiencing them with you.
Yeah, I just thought, because everybody writes books, and you'll have something really cool that went on, but it's just one voice, right? And that doesn't mean they're making it up at all. I don't, because I would never claim that of anybody, right? But
of course.
But when somebody else, when you put in whoever else was there and they put in their version of what it is, which I did in my book,
yes,
I think it validates whatever happened a lot more. And by the way, I'm going to hijack your show again for a second.
Okay.
I don't think the book would have gotten anywhere near it did, but I did one of the smartest things in my life. I went to this girl who's a friend of mine named Kat Hobson, who does phenomenal promos. And I said, Kat, look, here's some stuff. Can you make a promo? And the promo I got looked like it came out of Hollywood. It was freaking awesome.
Thank
you. I'm not saying this just because you're my friend and I'm on your show. I am absolutely positive that gave it a really good push. And the fact is, you were the first person who read it and gave me a couple of good things. As a matter of fact, you helped me design the cover, and you wrote the foreword. So I think that there needs to be a little bit of backslap and a girl heading your way about that stuff.
Thank you. Well, and it's really sad because for whatever reason, Sony has been really upset, I guess, that I've used some of the images from their shows, but I don't use images from online. I use images that are on my guests' public pages. And a lot of my guests have done work with Sony Media. If you do any television on Discovery or Travel, pretty much you're operating under Sony's umbrella or an affiliate. So, sadly, all of those beautiful, fantastic videos that I've done, and I will say that because I use the stuff that people gave me. And, they're excellent for speaker packages and whatnot. But, if they didn't download them, they're gone. And I think most people do download them because they get so excited. But
I did. That was the first thing I did. I was going, when I first got it, I had to tell you, and I'm not very easily impressed, as you well know.
I do know that.
But as soon as I got it, I was like, holy crap, I couldn't have, yes, this is exactly what I wanted. This is more than I wanted,
Thank you.
So I put it out on every single thing I could do, and boy, oh boy, I tell you, I got a great response off of it. So I think a lot of that award has to do with your efforts. So good on you, mate.
Thank you. Well, I used the imaging, and we did fight about one of those pictures. And you'll note that it was not in your promo for this week. But it's going to be from now on, just saying. But
I don't like that. I hate that picture.
without any, really and truly, no one has said anything differently to me, to a person. Specifically women, but not just women, have said, oh my gosh, that's a hot photo. And, you say that you feel like you look like Hemingway. Well, Hemingway was hot. Hello. I'm old and married. I can say that. But, it's a great photo of you. And for somebody just to throw a cell phone up and take it, oh my gosh, it's beautiful. So, that's my input.
Well, I do have to tell you about that picture. That was actually done by a professional photographer with a real camera.
I thought you said he threw a cell phone up. He just threw a camera up?
He had a camera with him because he was interviewing me for something. And we were out getting something to eat and stuff. And I said, hey, I don't have a good headshot. Can you take a picture of me? And he goes, yeah, do this. So I did that, and he took it, and then he sent it to me. So it was actually on the camera he had in his hand. It wasn't a cell phone.
So it's a professional headshot that you asked for, that he framed you for, and you hate it. It's a beautiful image. I am a photographer. I can say that too.
I kind of feel like I just got spanked and I should go to my room.
Well, I think you're just a little too self-critical about that image. It's a very handsome image of you. All of them are. I mean, you're good enough looking. So,
Well, most children don't cry when they see me. I mean, there's a few, but
and I don't think women run from you either. So, I think that's
no, they don't have to, because as you well know, I run from them.
I do know that.
I am the biggest coward when it comes to women in the history of the world, and the stupidest man too, because that's a chapter in the book, and it's hilarious.
It is, and it is.
One of the lines I say in this book about women, when I say I'm the stupidest man in the world, first thing I say is, I could have a girl give me a kidney and buy me a Cadillac, and I'd ask my friends, do you think she likes me? Mm-hmm. I'm a bonehead when it comes to women. I confess.
But I did offer to help you with that.
Yeah, well, it never helps.
Kick in the shin, yes.
Yes, well, yes. You will be my designated shin kicker.
Yeah. But, I find it really interesting because you're fearless. You really are. You are one of the few people I know who genuinely champions the underdog. And
well, that's true.
And the fact that the gentle side of the species, as it were, sends you running screaming for the hills is just not a good image.
I know. I know.
Well, but you meet so many people. I mean, you go to all these investigations. Before COVID, you were doing all these cons, and those are starting back up again. And for those who I am going to Vegas with in December, I have a grandbaby coming at some point in that period. So we are trying to figure out the right date. And I will know more about that once Sasha talks with her physician. But I'm so excited because nobody knows what this baby is yet. So I'm scheduled to be there. I have every intent to be there. I have a roommate there, and we're planning on doing a little running around after. So hopefully all things will be good and settled, and everything will work. I want to
I hope
go
you
to
have
that
a bail bondsman on speed dial. You two are going to go out into the world.
It will be wonderful, and we are so safe. Yeah. Oh, Lori said he will be in Vegas. He is on the thing. Josh Gates also is going to be there. This is going to be a fantastic con. Who's putting that on, Rick? Do you know?
Not off the top of my head.
Yeah, me either. But it just looks like it's going to be fantastic, and it's at the MGM Grand. So if you're in that area, and Michelle LeBaron, I'm speaking to you. If I'm there, the only reason I won't be there is if that grandbaby is coming that day or the following day. But if you're in town, if I'm in town, I want you to go to that con because I have yet to hug your neck, and I love you. So there's that. But yeah,
does that work? Because there's a lot of girls that I'd like to hug their neck.
Well, yeah, put it out there.
Actually, the one I really want to hug her neck is in Scotland, so that's...
Yeah.
I doubt
Beautiful
she'd come
girl,
that far
too.
for a neck hug.
Well, might as well. What else you got going on?
That's true.
You have a lot going
All right,
on.
I hugged your neck, now leave. Go back to Scotland. I hugged your neck. I'm out.
But, I think that when we come back from this upcoming break, that we need to talk a little Scotland. Because
Love Scotland.
I know you do. And you never run out of words when it comes to that. And your descriptions are just magnificent. So I'm excited to hear it.
Well, I'll be ready.
All right. I love giving you a little heads up like that. But I'm going to go ahead and take this break. Yeah, we were a little late for the first one. We'll be a little early for the second one. But y'all come back. We'll be back too.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
This is Jason Bland, host of Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup, where we stream live as a webcast every Sunday night, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern, with guests who will blow your mind. Live ghost box sessions where you can call into the show to see if the spirits will talk to you, and the world wide web of weird with the latest in paranormal news and evidence. We're bringing the weird every Sunday night, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Don't forget to follow and subscribe.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Thank Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 45 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to Fate Mag Radio, the online voice of Fate Magazine. And, you know, it is a great thing. They've been in publication since 1948. And there are archives galore. There are playing card, baseball card kind of things. They are archived editions. There are new editions. Just hit fatemag.com and check it out. So, Rick, we're back.
Yay!
Yay! And you don't have but about 15 minutes until we go for our top of the hour news break. And we'll finish Scotland for the rest of the show after we come back, knowing us. But really quickly, to get you kicked off, how were you already connected with Scottish Paranormal before you went to Scotland? Or how did you come how did you come to connect with them, and how long have you been going to Scotland?
I've been going to Scotland for like a month every year for the last 7 years, with the exception of last year. Obviously, everybody knows why. Couldn't travel. But no, I did not know anybody in Scotland when I decided to go, but I did decide to use the power of the internet, and I put on Facebook, I said, hey, is there anybody in Scotland know any good places? And a man named Brian Harley came on, who had his own ghost hunting group, and he and I went ghost hunting a bunch of places, Hales Castle, Arthur's Seat, a lot of different places we went. And he also had talked to Scottish Paranormal, and I got hold of them, and then I got to know those guys. And from there, I got to know the people, Anubis in England. So, I mean, it just went from one to one to one to one. As a matter of fact, because of getting to know all these people, and I know that the people listening will like this, I actually had a friend of mine that was the manager of the Real Mary King's Close, which is a very haunted place. It's like half of it's underground. I mean, like a half a block of underground houses. It's really cool. But he tells me, he goes, hey, why don't you get some of your friends and ghost hunt this place? I said, I'm not going to pay the outrageous, price you'll charge me. And he goes, well, it'll be free. And I said, free? See how you are? I told you. Right. So anyway, I called them the Scottish Paranormal guys because they'd been taking me around a lot, and I got two of them to come, and I got Brian and a girl in his group, Brian Harley and a girl in his group, and I got three people from one guy who was a TV psychic, and the lady who's in charge of Anubis Paranormal in England, and another one of her investigators. And they came over, and we investigated all that. But I told them when they got there, I said, this is going to be a para-unity ghost hunt. And here's what we're going to do. Nobody gets to ghost hunt with anybody in their team. So they ended up ghost hunting with each other and getting to know each other and see different techniques. And after we'd gone quite a bit, we let everybody go back, to anybody they wanted to go with, right? So it was actually very successful. Matter of fact, Allie from Scottish Paranormal says that's one of the most active hunts he's ever been on. So, and trust me, Scottish Paranormal has been on a lot of hunts.
No doubt.
And I say this all the time. I've said it to you before. I think they may be the best ghost hunting group in the world. Now, obviously, I haven't met all of them, but they are really good at what they do. And no BS about them. And they have their own research center right on a main street in town where you can stop in and have them help you with stuff. I mean, it's, and they're ghost hunting at least once or twice a week. And I mean, big time. Like they're the ones who took me to Ireland, for the Hellfire Club and Lep Castle. So I've done quite a bit of ghost hunting with them, and I'm actually very lucky. They made me a lifetime honorary member. So that was pretty cool.
Yes, that is the coolest, because they genuinely they're genuinely interested in the experiences, but they're more interested in helping those who may be having issues. And I think that says a lot for them. I greatly admire them.
They are actually some of the nicest people I've ever met. I mean, they really are. And Greg likes to talk about the very first time, because he wrote about it in some place that I read. And he said, well, I'd seen me on TV and in movies and stuff, and they were coming over to St. Andrews to take me around, right? And they said, here's this guy, he's, been in a lot of movies and stuff, and we were kind of scared. He says, and first thing he said, he looked at our shirts, which said Scottish Paranormal Investigative Team on them. And I said, oh, nice. You do know that the anagram spells spit. So
Indeed.
After that, they said, okay, this guy's not so bad.
See, that's just excellent.
Yeah, but they are really good guys. Brian Harley's a really good guy. Anubis was very, very accommodating with us. Had one of the most awesome things ever happen was with Anubis and Brian Harley at Bolton Abbey or Bolton Priory, they also call it in Yorkshire. I mean, that stuff that happened there was just so over the top. I mean, it's hard to explain.
Well,
it's in the
try.
book.
What made it over the top?
Well, there was an altar that it was actually ground that had grass over it, and the abbey itself, the cathedral part of it, had a small fence around it because, at least from what I heard, that they caught people in there doing satanic rituals and witchcraft up on the altar. And like I say, it's just raised grass. There's no physical altar. But there were also two guys there that were bouncers from Liverpool. And I was walking around with them, and we came up, and the group was up on the altar. And I just thought, we shouldn't be in there because they put a fence up, number one. And I'd heard of the other stuff, and that always makes me kind of creeped out when I know people have been asking other things to come through. Right? Well, the three of us saw a shape go around the side of the building, and we went off following it. And as soon as we got around there, we heard howling and everything else. And when we came back, one guy was standing up and looking. A girl was standing up, and everybody else was down on one knee. And the final guy, Brian Harley, was flat on his back, completely knocked out.
Oh, my gosh.
So we actually picked him up. I had one of the bouncers jump over the fence because, my knee is not going to let me do that anymore. But he comes running over, and he throws Brian over the fence to me and the guy named Chunk. And we catch him, and we take him, and we've got him leaning there trying to, wake him up and everything else. And, I do a lot of water safety stuff and things like that for movies. So I'm watching him, and he's starting to get those micro tremors, which means, he could be going into shock or he's getting hypothermic because it was cold out. So I got him on the ground, and Mandy grabbed her, because she knew what was going on. She grabbed her equipment cases and put his feet up on there. And I'm patting his face and everything else and, rubbing his extremities, trying to make sure he's not, going into hypothermia. So I take my coat off and I cover him, and he's still shivering and stuff like that. Well, this shows you what kind of people I was around. They start taking their coats off to so we kind of bury him in the coats, and finally he starts coming back. But the real weird thing was, earlier in the day, Mandy is a psychic medium, and she's the real deal, okay? Right. We're walking back past this gate, and she tells us, before we get there, she says, the story is this: if the spirits are trying to possess you, because this is a very dark place, right, they won't let you go through that gate. Well, I'm following her and Carol was a soldier, so she's no shrinking violent by any means. But we're walking, and I see the necklace on Mandy's neck go ripping back on her neck and actually gave her a friction burn. And she goes, wow. And I said, I saw that, right? Because I was walking behind the two girls. And she goes, yeah, wow. And then I think that's when she told me about them not wanting to let you leave. So I said, well, let's go. We got to get out of here. We got to get something. And we start walking, and she stops, and she goes, it really doesn't want me to leave. I said, well, you're stronger than it. Do it. and she scooted through the fence, and then Carol starts walking, and she stops. She goes, boy, I really feel it too. But then she muscled up, and she went through the fence. Well, I walked up there, and evidently it didn't want me anywhere around. I just walked right through. You know?
The negative entities never want you around.
Yeah, they're like, you can leave now. Just go on, right? But we got some stuff. We went back to Brian. Brian's thing happened later that night. So I asked the people, I said, look, he's still real cold. Can you go get your truck, your SUV, bring it over to the gate? And Peter and I, one of the bouncers, would help him get over there, get him in the car, take him to get hot chocolate or coffee down at the thing there, and, you know, get him back spiffy, because we'd gotten him back where he was, you know, able to communicate a little bit and stuff, but he still wasn't quite all there, and I wanted to get him where it was warm and some hot stuff in him. So Peter and I, Peter's about my size, we get our arms underneath his arms, and we're walking him and half dragging him because he's got his head down, as you can imagine, right?
Yes.
And I'm watching him like a hawk as we start to get near the fence.
Right, because of your experience.
Because I want to see what's going to happen. And he's got his head down. He's not looking up where the fence is, and we probably walked over 100 yards with him, right? We get within about 10 or 15 feet of the fence. He sticks his heels into the ground and just shoves backwards as hard as he can, right? And I thought, aha, there really is something to this. But unfortunately for Brian, who wanted to sit there, he didn't realize two very large people were holding him, and we just actually lifted him and carried him through the gate and tossed him into the back of the car, and off he went. And then he actually, when we went down there, we all walked down there, and they'd given him hot chocolate and coffee and everything else, and he was feeling much better. And he goes, all right, well, I'm ready to go back. And I looked at him, I said, if you think you're going back, I'm going to knock your ass out and put you in the trunk. I was like, after all that, you want to go back? No.
No. Well, because you had seen you had seen what was happening earlier in the day.
Well, pretty much everything did. Mandy was picking up on all kinds of things. And there was another real interesting thing. Most anybody that knows me knows I almost always wear all black.
Yes.
We were out in the chapel was there, and then there was a archway, you know, that you had to walk through after the chapel. And I was out by this one place, you know, that was really active, and I had my K2, and I was out there battling the midges, which are just the most horrible creatures you can come across. They're like mosquitoes with, you know, laser beams. They just come flying and just gang up on your face. I mean, I slapped my face so many times, I was starting to think that, you know, I was in a country bar at 2 a.m. Yeah. But anyway, I hope people got that analogy. But anyway, Carol comes out, and she walks up, and all of a sudden she walks out to the thing, and she's walking up about maybe 75 yards away, and she's walking, and then she looks up, and she sees me, and she kind of jolts, and she comes over, and she goes, how long have you been out here? I said, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes. And she goes, I saw a large black shape back there by the thing, and it was walking this way. I thought it was you, so I followed it. And then I saw you. So,
oh, my.
Yeah, so that place is very, very strange. Mandy said that she saw a dark figure come out of the water. There's a creek there, like a small river, come out of the water and walk towards the chapel. And then the three of us had seen one go around the corner, and they'd gone after it before all the chaos happened. And then later on, Carol and I were there, and we saw another one go, and we went after that. So it was very active night, you know, and just, you know, if it wasn't for all the people there, you know, jumping in to help Brian, you know, I'm sure he still would have been okay, you know, just from, you know, us helping him. But, I mean, the way everybody automatically took their coats off and raised his feet, and, you know, everybody just jumped in to help him, you know, that was really cool.
Well, that is really cool because, you know, I was actually wondering, and we'll have to revisit this probably when we come back, but the fact that he did not leave by his own volition makes me wonder if he would have been if it was still going to be safe for him. I'm so glad y'all didn't go back in or allow him to go back in.
Well, none of us went back in. After that, we were like, okay, there's more to the story, though. I asked all the people what happened because they were screaming before when you come back.
Yes, because, boy, talk about a cliffhanger. Good gravy. But we are, well, this is our top of the hour news break, and I hope that that there's a little good news. I'm always looking for it. Generally, it's getting better here and there, but you know what? We gotta keep putting that light out there because this world needs it. So we will be back after this, and y'all come back too. And Rick, I can't wait to hear what you're going to tell us because there's more to that story. Thanks.
This message comes from NPR sponsor OkCupid. It's all about meeting someone real, someone you feel like you already know before you get to know them. It's time for the real thing, a real connection. Download the OkCupid app for free in the App Store.
Live from NPR News, I'm Janine Herbst. Tropical depression Claudette is being blamed for the deaths of 12 people in Alabama after the storm swept across the state, causing flash floods and spawning tornadoes that damaged or destroyed many homes. 12 people, including 9 children, were killed in a 15-vehicle crash yesterday. The NTSB is investigating. A flood threat remains up in several states. Danny Gonzalez, who lives in hard-hit Slidell, Louisiana, about 30 miles from New Orleans, says he has around 2 feet of water in his house.
All the cabinets, all the doors are warped, all the flooring's toast. We're pulling all that stuff up now.
Tropical storm warnings are still up for the Carolinas, and locally heavy rains and gusty winds are forecast for that area through tomorrow morning. The Senate is expected to vote on legislation this week aimed at overhauling federal elections. NPR's Windsor Johnston reports the bill has become a top priority for congressional Democrats as more states pass legislation restricting voting access.
The legislation would redefine national standards on voting. It would change the makeup of the Federal Elections Commission, place new rules on congressional redistricting, and implement new campaign finance and disclosure laws. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says the goal of the measure remains crystal clear.
Protect the right to vote, strengthen our democracy, and put a stop to the tide of voter suppression flooding across our country. We will not consider legislation that does not achieve those objectives.
The bill is expected to fall short of the 60 votes needed to defeat a GOP filibuster. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell has said that Republicans will vote against it. Windsor Johnston, NPR News.
First results from French regional elections show a poor turnout for President Emmanuel Macron's party. NPR's Eleanor Beardsley reports the election of leaders of France's 13 regions is seen as a bellwether for the presidential election next May.
In at least 5 major regions, Macron's party was in 4th place behind the far right, the mainstream conservatives, the socialists, and the ecologists. Macron swept to power with his brand new party in 2017. It was hailed as centrist and a break from the entrenched right and left that had ruled France for decades. But La République En Marche has been unable to take root, says political analyst Jean-Yves Camus.
Is, I would say, a movement, but it's not a real party. It's almost a fan club, of people who like the president. But there are so few people at the grassroots level.
Turnout was very low. There will be a runoff next Sunday between all candidates who got at least 10%. Eleanor Beardsley, NPR News, Paris.
U.S. futures contracts are trading in mixed territory at this hour. The Dow futures contract down a fraction. NASDAQ is up a fraction. You're listening to NPR News. The chair of the faculty at the University of North Carolina is urging the school's trustees to approve tenure for Nicole Hannah-Jones. NPR's Joel Rose reports the chair is asking other faculty members and students to speak out in support of the incoming journalism professor.
In an open letter, Faculty Chair Mimi Chapman urged UNC's Board of Trustees to stop a growing reputational threat to the university. The letter invokes Socrates and Galileo in urging faculty and students to defend academic integrity with one voice. The The university hired Hannah Jones, an acclaimed journalist at the New York Times and the driving force behind the 1619 Project that argued slavery is central to the American story. But the university's trustees have not taken up a proposal to give her tenure. That provoked national outrage among journalists and scholars and led several prominent black faculty members to announce they are leaving the university. Joel Rose, NPR News.
2 astronauts on the International Space Station ventured outside today for a 6-hour spacewalk to install solar panels to upgrade the station's power supplies. French astronaut Thomas Pasquet.
Great job, Jenny. Great job, everyone. I think it's great success today. We have a nice roll out and rolled, and looking forward to the second one next time.
NASA astronaut Shen Kimbrough wished everyone a happy Father's Day. The extra solar boost is needed as more experiments come on board and tourism is set to ramp up. NASA does have a 3rd spacewalk scheduled this week to finish up this project. I'm Janine Herbst, and you're listening to NPR News.
NPR is doing its annual survey to better understand how listeners like you spend time with podcasts. Please help us out by completing a short, anonymous survey at npr.org/podcast survey, all one word. We would really appreciate your help to support NPR podcasts. That's npr.org/podcast survey, all one word. Thanks.
Welcome back to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 5 minutes after the hour. Welcome back for the second hour here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting. You are listening to Fate Mag Radio, the online voice of Fate Magazine. My guest tonight is Rick Mccallum, who is, oh, good heavens, he's just all the things. He is a SAG actor, a stuntman, a stunt coordinator extraordinaire. He is the co-founder with Kane Hodder of Hollywood Ghost Hunters, Hollywood Ghost Hunter magazine, and he's written the book that is the 2020 Paranormal Book of the Year, and its title is Ghosts Believe in Me. He is all the things. He's a fantastic speaker. People just love to be around him. He's got like this draw somehow. It's so funny to watch, but in a cool way. And he is my friend. So Rick, hi. Thanks for coming back. And we left with a cliffhanger. Sorry about that.
No, that's perfect. I mean, I feel like Roy Rogers and Trigger right now.
Well, do tell. I'm sorry. I was sorry to interrupt you because I wanted to hear it too.
Well, hear it you shall. I actually took the people aside after Brian, got knocked down, and we carried him around and fixed him up and everything else. And shows you what kind of character he is. He wanted to go back in, But
yeah.
I actually talked to the people about what happened. And before I go any farther, let me say that I implicitly trust every one of those people. So I was not double checking them or anything else. I wanted to see if their stories matched up so that I could say, well, this is probably what happened. So I actually took them aside before they had a chance to talk to each other because, when you get suggestion, the stories meld.
Well, that's your law enforcement background training.
Yeah, I mean, that's just, that you want to get them apart and then you can get the real story from each one. And then if they meld up, then you got something. Well, I asked the first girl, and she said she was the one that screamed when she saw it, said it looked like a goat's head with no eyes flying right at her.
Oh.
The second girl, Mandy Fellows, said the same thing. Her husband, Eddie, he had been already kneeling down and didn't see it. And then the next Gary, he saw it. And he said something different than the first two, because first two said goat's head with no eyes, and he said it looked like a ram with no eyes. So I knew that they had not talked to each other to suggest to get the story together.
Right.
And like I say, I'm not trying to say they were trying to make up a story. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that the stories that I heard were all from each one of them, and they melded together nicely. And the fact that Gary's was a little bit different than the other two, actually gave it more validity to me.
Yes,
If,
it would.
You know, yeah, they weren't all exactly the same thing. So, and then I asked Brian, and Brian goes, I don't know what happened. He says, I was standing there 1 minute, next thing I know, I was laying on the ground.
I got nothing, man. But thanks.
Yeah, I just got here, you know. So, to me, that was extraordinary.
Well,
but like I say, there's a lot of, you know, satanic worship and witchcraft and all kinds of stuff that went on there, according to what I had heard from other people. So I didn't see anything like that happening while we were there.
Well,
or I
I'm
would have
pleased. Yeah.
I would have had to intercede.
And you would have done a good job.
Because I play for the other side.
We both do. And it's
as long
really...
as they'll have me, I'll play for the other side.
Yes. Don't you find it interesting, though, that when we go places, that is a known fact to the entities that are wherever we go? They recognize that.
I really think they do. I've always had this feeling that spirits can read your energy. And if your energy is clean, you know, that they're more attracted to you.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's just like if you go out, you see somebody that's really pretty and sparkly and bubbly, and you're like, oh, yeah. And then the one that's walking along looking, you know, all disheveled and mad at the world, I don't want to talk to them. So I think it's just the same thing. So, yeah, I think they can read, you know, which side you're on. I think they can read if you're a good person because, and I don't say this in a self-aggrandizing way, but even the Scottish paranormal guys say, man, we have never seen anybody get things come to them like you. I said, it happens quite a bit. So,
well, you know, people have been noticing that, I think, with these live feed shows that you're doing for the Spirit Realm Network, as well as the oh dear,
Dark
Zone. I had it right there too. I just about picked it up, but you got it before I did. But you know, you're doing a lot of these shows, and I think people are very surprised at the fact that you use a K2 and you get great results with that, and that you've begun using a REM pod to kind of like triangulate an area so that they're not right next to each other, but they go off together, or they have gone off together, certainly at Dodge Phelps Hospital. But
well, the thing about Dodge Phelps that was so interesting, and first off, I don't know if a lot of people realize that a K2 meter and a REM pod work off totally different things. Yes. K2 meter works off electromagnetic field, and the REM pod will work off temperature change and proximity. So they don't work off the same thing. So when they both go off at the same time, you've got something pretty dang interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that was really interesting at Phelps Dodge, twice when I was in the basement, I asked it to make my K2 and that go off, one right after the other, and it did it twice.
Yes.
And to the fact that a girl that was there actually hollered, wow, from off screen.
Yes, she did.
So,
because they weren't expecting that. Because, you know, I think that you surprise people because you are very old school in your techniques most of the time. You like the new toys and gadgets. You like checking them out and stuff. But when it comes to actually getting information, you rely on the K2 very much. And it doesn't, I mean, it's a good thing. It works for you. And people are just so shocked.
Well, I'll give you, for instance, in Scotland, we went to a place called the Wemyss Caves, which is right on the North Sea, and it's a series of caves that are in the side of this cliff. And we walked in there, and Gregor was telling me the story of it, that this girl, Mary Sibbald, had been seen in there many times, and she has also been seen many times in Balgony Castle, which is one of the places we're going to ghost hunt on the tour.
Yay.
Fabulous. Fabulous place, too, I tell you. But anyway, I walk in, I take my K2 meter out, and Ryan says to me, he goes, "Hey, mate, they don't work in here." And I said, "Really?" And he goes, "Yeah." He says, "We've tried them. He says, we never get anything here." I turned it on, and I said, "Hey, Mary Sibald, I'm from the United States. I came to say hi. Are you in here?" And all 5 lights went off, and they looked at me like, "What the hell?"
I love that.
Yeah, so it's strange.
Well,
but yeah,
you know, it works for you.
I knew you wanted to ask me about Scotland too.
Yes. Well, I know that you are a great fan of the Lord of Balgony Castle. And,
I really am.
Or the
Wonderful
Laird.
Man.
When we go, when we get there, he's available for visitors or whatever, would there be a possibility of meeting him?
Yeah, if he's up and healthy, because, he's had a few health scares recently.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he's a fantastic guy. He really shocked me when I first went there the very first time. He started telling me all of these different things he had done. Like he had carved all the woodwork for the doors and all these other places. He'd actually, and really well, very well crafted artisan, this man. He actually represented Scotland in a contest for leatherworking. He took the other 30, roughly, family crests of the other lairds of the castle,
mm-hmm.
and painted them, and they're like on 2x2, paintings.
And they're lovely.
They're in the ceiling of his private residence, and then he wrote the names in the beams, so you could see the beams and then look up and see all these family crests. It's fantastic, and everything he was talking about, I was really interested in, right?
Right.
So we just kind of bonded because I don't think a lot of people that he talks to, are as interested in this stuff that I was, and I was like, okay, tell me about this. No, tell me more. And I had just fallen. A lot of people don't know I really messed up my knee in the field where they had the Battle of Roslin in 1303. I fell down a hill and just tore up my knee. But he looks at me and he goes, "Do you think you can get up 3 flights of stairs with that knee?" I said, "Got a handrail?" He goes, "Yep." And I said, "Yeah, I can do it." He goes, "Come on, I want to show you my personal residence." And I was like, "Really?" So I'm going up there, and one of the guys from Scottish Paranormal said, "We've never been up here." Right? They are the in-house group. So, I took that as a very big compliment. But
as it was.
What a wonderful guy he is. He's just everything you can imagine a guy that was a laird of a castle. Now, you have to know that in Scotland, they're not called lords of the castle. They're called the laird.
Laird.
In Ireland, they're the lord. So if you're ever in one of those places, Ireland is lord, Scotland is laird. But fantastic, man. And the way, the Scottish paranormal guys interact with him, it's fantastic.
Well, I'm going to tell you that because I know how much you think of him and the experiences that he shared, when I was putting together your promotion, I was able to see the different images, and that included those painted crests. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And he just looks like he would be a delight.
Well, not only that, he looks exactly like if you called Central Casting and said, "I need a laird of a castle." He comes out with the long gray hair, the long gray beard, wearing a kilt, and he's got his Irish wolfhound with him.
Alfie.
Alfie.
Yes.
Love that. I love that dog. It's the only dog I can pet. I'm not allergic to Alfie.
Well, I just would be so honored to have a chance to meet him, if that's possible, because I trust you. I know how good a judge of character you are, and this man must be amazing.
Oh, he really is. And the way that we bonded was just so cool, he actually took me aside and told me some secrets of the castle that were like astounding. which ain't nobody going to hear them from me,
Right.
Because I don't tell people things like that after I get really good things. But amazing man, amazing castle. We've had some really good stuff come through there. As a matter of fact, you've seen one of them. The very end of the promo that you did for me, there's a Frank's box there.
Yes.
And they had been asking questions and nothing was happening. I said, can I try it? They said, go ahead. I said, is there anything in the castle we should be afraid of? And it comes back and it's clear as a bell. The energy. I mean, just like that, a deeper voice, the energy.
Yes.
So that was pretty cool.
And it didn't sound Scottish.
No, it didn't.
It sounded American.
Yeah, it was interesting.
And
of course, then again, when you talk to Ryan, good luck. Ryan's got the real Scottish accent, and it's like, it's so much funny. We'll get in the car, we'll be going somewhere, and he'll start saying something, and I'll just turn around and holler at him, will you speak English?
Yes.
And you speak in English. You just got that hard Scottish accent. So lovely people, though. I'm telling you, you're going to love Scotland. You're going to fall in love with the place. The people are so freaking nice. And you're going to go through places. You're not going to see graffiti. You're not going to see garbage on the ground. Most of the stuff is like quaint villages and old buildings. And, I mean, it's just awesome. I mean, obviously, if I spent my own dime to go there 7 years in a row for a month at a time, that's expensive.
Yes, it is. But we are at the first break. So we're going to have to take this, and we've got some questions for you in chat. And we'll be right back. I know, right?
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Paratalk Radio is your one-stop for all things paranormal, the unknown, and the supernatural. Join us every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central for discussions and guests on topics such as ghosts, hauntings, Bigfoot, UFOs, and more. This broadcast is rated M for mature and intended for listeners over 16 on paratalkradio.com.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
The time is 23 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to Fate Mag Radio. I'm so glad that you're here and can join me with my guest, Rick Mccallum, who is the co-founder of Hollywood Ghost Hunters, editor of Hollywood Ghost Hunters magazine, actor, stuntman, stunt coordinator, one of the most gruesome deaths you'll ever see on film, and Hatchet 2, and so much more. So much more. I am really glad that you are here because, A, I love talking to you. We do it a lot. And B, you have some of the best experiences and some of the best knowledge when it comes to things that go bump in the night. And I know that, there's a whole lot of ufology stuff going on. There's a lot of angst and anxiety relevant to that because, the report that Trump put in with that COVID package that says it has to be unclassified and released on this date is coming up. So it's nice to kind of step away from that for a few minutes and be able to talk about all this fantastic stuff that you do. And so thanks. Thank you for being here.
Well, you're one of my best friends. Why wouldn't I be here?
Well, and I wanted to celebrate you too, because you are a first-time author, and you won Paranormal Book of the Year for 2020. That is astounding. It's awesome, and I'm so proud of you.
And like I said in the first session, a lot of it was because of you and the promo. So take a bow.
I'll curtsy. I'm Southern.
Okay,
I just did. I actually just did the motion, so you're welcome.
Actually, if it helps, I'll curtsy too.
There
I
you
got
go.
no pride.
Well, nothing wrong with a good curtsy.
No, I guess not. I mean, I play monsters. I mean, how bad can it be to have somebody see a curtsy? I mean,
Monsters by day, hunting
Curtsies
spirits
by
by
night.
night. Yes. But, there is absolutely nothing that is not fascinating in your book. What would you think? And I know that it's like, tell me, who's your favorite child? But seriously, you have so many very strong personal experiences. What would you say was the one that most rocked your world or touched you the strongest?
Well, that's actually really easy. What happened at Left Castle?
Yes.
With unquestionably. Do we have time for me to say it on the air?
You totally have time.
We had been at the Hellfire Club in Dublin. I was with Scottish Paranormal. And as we were leaving there, actually, I got to tell this beforehand. They were talking on the Frank's box, and not much was happening. So I asked if I could do it. Now, one of the reasons they invited me was because, and I know this guy is a relative of mine, one of my relatives was actually one of the original members of the Hellfire Club. So I walked over to the thing, and I walked up and I said, "Hi, my name is Rick. I'm from the United States, and I came here to see if I could talk to my relative, John Wilkes." So it said something like, elbow, macaroni, something that made no sense, which anybody that ghost hunts knows how those things work. And then it goes, relative? And the two people that were there, their jaws just dropped, right? And I went, "Yeah, you're my relative." I said, "And I just came to say hi." And it goes, "Hi, Rick." And I mean, now they're like stunned. I was stunned, to be honest with you. And then I said, "All right, now I'm going to tell for sure if I'm talking to my relative, John Wilkes. Did you really dress up a baboon and turn him loose into the club?" And it says a couple words, and then it goes, "Baboon." Now, to have that kind of interaction with something where it calls you says hi to you by name, says relative, and says baboon in the course of like a 2 to 3 minute conversation,
Indeed.
The odds of that are astronomical. I mean, I don't even think you could even come up with that. I mean, how many people have ever heard baboon on a thing?
Well, certainly not sung to me.
Yeah,
I've never heard it, but certainly not singing it.
I never had either. But anyway, as we were leaving, my right eye started hurting. And I remembered that Ryan and I think it was Allie, might have been Gregor, their right eyes had been hurting too. So it was kind of strange. But we get in the car and we're driving along and my right eye is still hurting and stuff. Well, we get to Lep Castle and we're about an hour early. It's about 11 at night. We're supposed to be there at midnight. And they were having a party and the whole parking lot was filled out in front. So we just parked out in the front street. And we all got out, you know, because we'd been in the car for an hour. And the other three guys disappeared, went behind some bushes, if you get my drift.
Gotcha.
And I'm standing out there, and it's windy and it's cold, and I was like, oh, man, this is so cool. I'm out in the, you know, in the middle of nowhere. Lep Castle is right over there. I'm getting the whole experience, the cold and the wind and stuff. And they go, and it reminded me of growing up in Chicago, right? And they said, hop on into the car. And I said, no, let me stand out here for a while. This feels pretty good. So I'm standing there, and the way I described it to the people, all of a sudden it felt like I had a spear go right through my right eye. I felt it go through my head and out the back. And I just grabbed my eye, and my knees buckled from the pain.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately, I was able to fight off, you know, going out, because I used to do a lot of, you know, kickboxing and boxing and been biffed in the head a lot, so I guess might have been used to it. But I started staggering backwards, and I was holding my hand over my eye, and water was gushing out of it. And the first thing that I thought of was that my eyeball exploded, right?
Right.
And I didn't even know if that could happen or not, but that's the first thing I thought of. So I'm staggering backwards, and I'm, you know, trying hard not to go unconscious. And I look down, and I see the ground, and I went, well, Rick, you've been doing stunts for almost 40 years. Fall down now while you got some control, right?
Right.
So just as I said that, I heard a voice in my head that said, if you hit the ground, you'll never get up.
Oh,
now,
no.
I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I know a hint when I hear it.
No doubt.
Right? So I immediately changed gears and did everything I could to stay up, but I was still wobbly-legged. You know, I was like Mike Tyson punched you in the head. And I went staggering back, and I grabbed onto the car, and I heard somebody yelling, and it sounded like they were 100 yards away. And I looked up, and I'm at the back of the car. Allie's getting out of the side of the car, and he's yelling my name. He's like maybe 8 feet from me. It sounded like he was 100 yards away. Anyway, he comes up and he grabs me. He gets me from behind the car, and as he said, he put me back there so nobody'd run over me. But there was no traffic at all at night out there. We're middle of nowhere. But he says, come on, get in the car, get in the car. I said, no, man, just leave me out here. The cold air and the breeze, maybe it'll, you know, get my senses back. So I'm holding my eye, and I'm standing behind the car. And the next thing I know is Allie's got hold of me and pulling me into the car. And in the book, he says that when he came out, now this is very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
He said he got out, and he got out because he looked in the rearview mirror and he couldn't see me. And he said when he looked out the side mirror, he saw that I was barely hanging onto the side of the car and almost falling on the ground. And when he got out, he said the first thing that came to his mind looking at me, he said, because I was stone white as you can be, and I was having a very hard time breathing, and he could hear it. And he says, I just knew if Rick fell down, he was never going to get up again.
Wow.
Which is the same thing that I heard. So anyway, they get me into the car, and I'm sitting in the passenger seat, which is on the left side because, you know, we're in a European car. And they drive in front of Lep Castle, and they say, okay, let's get out. Well, it's on gravel, and what else happened? Here's more paranormal stuff. Gregor just said, who was that guy just walked by, right? And we all looked around, and we said, there's nobody out here. He goes, I heard the gravel, and I looked up, and there was a guy walking by. There's nobody out there, right?
Right.
So anyway, I'm sitting in the seat, and they said, come on inside. I said, no, guys, just leave me right here. Let me just relax, right? I'll come in when I'm better. Well, bless their hearts, like every 5 minutes, because I still have my hand over my right eye, I would hear crunching on the gravel, and I look up, and one of them would be peeking in the window. But they were so concerned, and I looked so terrible that they went to the lord of the castle and said, you know, we might need to call an ambulance. And the guy goes, why? And they said, we think Rick is dying. Well, when you go back to the car, I'm sitting in there, and I'm looking out the front window. And all of a sudden, my vision starts going side to side, wobble, wobble, wobble. And I'm like, oh, this is not good. And then after like maybe 30 seconds of that, it went to the iris. I don't know if you guys know what that is. That's when the circle, just squeezes in on itself. And they used to use that for the end of the like old cowboy movies and cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought to myself, wow, this is it, right? Because just as that was happening, if anybody has ever flushed a toilet in an airplane and knows how it goes, woof, right? From my neck down, all my energy just went boom. And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, this is it, right? And when something like that happens, you just know. And I knew that I only had 2 or 3 minutes left to live. I mean, I hate to sound so melodramatic, but I knew it. I mean, my eyes are going, my stuff is going, my energy blows out of me. I can read signs, I'm not stupid. But I don't know why, but I just said out loud, I said, I've got to do a lot of stuff other people haven't done. I've seen most everything I ever wanted. If today is my day, I'm okay with it. And what was really weird was the peaceful feeling that you have. I mean, I wasn't fighting. I wasn't like, no, not me, not now. It's just like, okay, this is how it works. All right. Well, about a minute later, I start feeling my energy coming back in. And then I start feeling better. And Allie comes out and he goes, how are you doing? I said, I'm feeling better. But before he came out, I heard somebody walking up, and I looked outside. There was nobody there.
Right.
They're crunching the gravel. Same thing that happened to Gregor. But I get out of the car, go in, and I sit down for about a half an hour, and then I'm feeling fine. And I went ghost hunting and everything else. But the hook to the whole thing was Allie calls me up like 2-3 weeks later, and he says, you know what I found out? And I said, what? He goes, that there was a gunfight at the Hellfire Club, and one guy got shot through the right eye and died. So the only logical thing I could think of is that spirit attached to me.
Yeah.
And I was reliving what happened to him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the only reason that I didn't die is because of what I said.
Yes.
And I think
agree
probably
with that.
I think the spirit probably just went, what am I doing? No, I just want to, no, and backed off. And when he backed off, I automatically started feeling better. But Allie puts, in the book, Allie puts in what he was seeing. Other people put in what they were seeing and everything else. So I always think if you have two voices of something that was seen, like the things at Hellfire Club when they was talking, Eileen gives her version. And what's nice is it's not exactly the same as my version. But the story is still the same. The same
Yes.
3 things came through. She just had them in a different order. But the story remained the same, and the evidence pretty much remained the same. So I always like to put everybody else's a chance for them to talk in there and say what they saw. Because I really think when you get two people saying pretty much the same thing, you got some validation going on.
Absolutely.
So, but without a doubt, the most intense thing I've ever had happen was Left Castle.
And when I first learned of that, it was horrifying. I mean, I know it was no great shakes from your side either, but it was just like, my gosh, I can't believe that this was almost, a real death for you. And it was just awful.
Well, what was really funny about the whole thing, when I got inside, the spy guys, Scottish paranormal investigators, I call them the spy guys.
Right.
The spy guys are, they're saying, wow, we were so scared, and all this stuff. And I looked at them, and they said, not really, no, it was very peaceful. But they said, yeah, and we were saying, what are we going to do if he dies out there, right? And I looked at him and I said, pay close attention to me. And I actually swore, but I'm not going to on your show.
Thank you.
But I just looked at him and I said, if I ever die on a hunt, you better ghost hunt the hell out of me.
Yep.
So
absolutely.
That was, I think the next most thing was Bolton Abbey, which I told you earlier. That
yes.
was incredible and intense.
That is intense. We have a couple of questions for you.
Yay, I love questions.
I know you do. And I'm going to ask them in order. But how many different types of spirit beings do you believe that there are?
Well, I think there's residual haunting, which is something that is imprinted kind of on time, and it's not anything that's an actual spirit. I do think I think there are ghosts and there are spirits, and a lot of people don't realize the difference. Okay, a ghost is something that is still earthbound. A spirit is like your grandmother has died and passed over and can come back. So I do think there's that things too. And are there other spirits or other ghosts and things like that? Yeah, there's some really nasty sons of guns that are out there. There are demonic things. I've actually had to deal with that a couple of times, and that is not fun. Wouldn't wish that on anybody. But yeah, I think really, basically, it's the two, spirits and ghosts.
Right. Well, we have someone who wants to know how you can buy a steak cheaper than your Tillamook.
Because I would make somebody a great little housewife. I've got nice legs, and I know where to shop. Trust me. No, this place near me, every day they have a different kind of steak on sale to lure you into the place.
Mm-hmm.
And I go in there, and they also have my favorite ice cream, Tillamook Mudslide, because obviously they know me very well, whoever's asking.
And it's what you live on.
Yeah, it is. Well, I got a T-bone steak, a 1-pound T-bone steak for $6.78, I think it was.
Yep, you did.
Than $7. Well, less than $7. And then my ice cream, which I usually get at my market, which is $7.69. At this market, it's always on sale for like $4.99. So I make my money go far enough so I can save some to go to Scotland.
There you go. And you are a great shopper.
I just, when I was just up, I just did a live hunt from Murphy's Hotel. And Jim Martin, the guy who was running the whole thing, he took me and Amber over and some other people to get ice cream. And when we got there, they had this thing that looked like almost half of a Dixie cup for the ice cream, and we're standing in line. And I looked at the price, and this little tiny cup was $5.50.
Oh, my.
And he goes, "What do you want?" I said, "I don't want any." He goes, "You love ice cream." I said, "Trust me, I don't want any." And he goes, "I'm paying." I said, "I don't care. I don't want any." Right? Because there's just things that are just wrong. You know what I mean?
I do. That is wrong.
I mean, I don't mind paying a little more for something like that, but that was just ridiculously, the whole thing was ridiculous. I don't know why anybody ever bought anything there.
Yep. Now, I'm going to ask this question before we go to break, because when we come back from break, there is something a bit more serious. Does Scotland have fairies? Supernatural.
Well, I understand. I'm just thinking, because there are lots of reports of fairies in Scotland. I personally have never seen any. So, but there are, it's part of the lore of Scotland. So.
That's pretty nifty.
Yeah.
We have them here ostensibly. When I go into a particular area, I always toss the nice shiny dimes down as I go by. It's gone up from a penny. Well, I figure, if I ran a business in Southside Chicago, I'd be paying protection there. I might as well pay it in the woods. So we are going to be going to our final break. If you have questions, get them in chat. And otherwise, you'll get to hear the answers to these other great ones. So we'll be right back. Y'all come back too.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
This is Jason Bland, host of Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup, where we stream live as a webcast every Sunday night, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern, with guests who will blow your mind. Live ghost box sessions where you can call into the show to see if the spirits will talk to you, and the World Wide Web of Weird with the latest in paranormal news and evidence. We're bringing the weird every Sunday night, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Don't forget to follow and subscribe.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 45 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to Fate Mag Radio, the online voice of Fate Magazine. We are at our final segment. If you have a question and haven't put it in chat yet, now is the time to do so. And Rick, we do have a question. I was hesitant to ask you this, but I'm going to. Can you tell us about a demonic experience that you've had? If you're comfortable talking about it, of course.
Yeah, I'd be happy to tell you. And I am comfortable about it because I know that I have friends with me, because that's part of the story, actually. But I had written a script, and in it, it's a fight between good and evil, and there's a part where the henchman for Satan is going to spare this cop if he converts, and the cop takes a cross out from under his shirt and says, "Sorry, buddy, I already made my choice." And, of course, this guy kills him. The whole story, the whole idea of this script that I was writing is that you have to pick a side and you have to, deal with it. But anyway, it was like 1 a.m, and I got up to go get a drink of water. And as I come through my living room, there's my dining area, and then there's the kitchen. So I'm walking on the left side of me is the dining area, and then in front of me is the kitchen. Well, the kitchen has one of those cutouts, a big cutout so you can put food through to the dining area. Well, the microwave is visible through there so you can see the clock.
Right.
Well, the same light comes in both of these, day or night, because there's a big light outside. So they always look the same, both rooms. As I came out, the dining area was just as dark as can be, and the other room was lighter. I was like, enough that it made me stop, and I was like, whoa, what's going on? And where I stopped, I looked, and I saw movement. And I saw something coming up from the ground, and I immediately thought it was a burglar. Right. So I went into self-defense mode. I had my hands up. I was dancing around like Muhammad Ali. I figured, it's on. But I see this thing, and I'm like, I'm maybe just my eyes are playing tricks on me. And all of a sudden, I see a head shape come up over the cutout because there's, I can see because there's more light from the other side. It's silhouetting it. And I'm like, son of a gun, there's somebody there. And, I'm ready to start duking it out with him because I'm sure it's a burglar. Well, this thing goes up, blocks out the light on the microwave, so now I am positive there is something solid between me and that. And it goes up and goes up, and I can still see the silhouette. And I'm a pretty big guy, and it just dwarfed me. And I'm standing there, and I instantly realize what's going on, right? This is definitely something demonic because I can feel waves of just this energy hitting me, and it's
right.
I could feel that it was trying to intimidate me, and I got to tell you, it was doing a damn good job, right? But I stood my ground, and finally I jumped over where the light was. I turned it on, there's nothing there. So if you fast forward after this, and you know what, I kind of said, you know what, I wonder if that was something sent because of what I wrote. Because it was immediately after I wrote that. And
that's
I
a good
thought,
question.
Yeah. But anyway, there were these twin girls that were always trying to contact their dad, and they came over and they wanted to use my spirit box. So I let them. Well, I had told them, too. I said, it's really weird around here because I'd been having these real dark shadows darting through here, which I think came with that guy, right? Well, all of a sudden, I started seeing white shadows, which are hard to describe, but they were like white things that went flashing through my apartment. So anyway, the girls were sitting there, and the spirit box was just going crazy. Both girls had pads of paper, and they were writing all the words down. Finally, I was just back in my bedroom, and I came back out, and I said, look, I got to ask something. And this is kind of the answer to the whole question, I think. I said, look, I've been seeing white shadows. What are they? And the spirit box says, scent protection.
There you go.
Now that pretty much is what I was thinking. The dark guys are bad, maybe the light guys are the good guys. But then one of the girls says, are you good or bad? And it goes, loving. And I went, ha! I know who's here, right? My army is here, right?
Absolutely.
So anyway, the girls finished up what they were doing and everything else, and off they went. Well, I went back in my bedroom, and I was doing what I was doing, and I started to come out, and I heard a voice. I've only heard voices twice. First time saved my life, this one. But all this voice said was, he's here. And I knew who he meant. And, I mean, the hair on the back of my neck, my arms, and everything else stood up because I knew what he was talking about who he was. That thing was back, right? So I walked out, and I stood in my living room, and it's late at night, and I just went off, and I said, I said, you coward, show yourself right now. You and I will take care of this. And I said, but you won't show up because I'm not alone, and you know it. And if you don't leave, we're going to make you leave. And I've never had anything like that happen again. So I think that's the answer. Yes, if I had a demonic thing happen, yeah, I'm positive that's exactly what it was. And I'm positive when the voice, when the spirit box told me scent protection and it's loving, and I heard a voice saying, he's here. I knew if there was ever any time to confront them, now was the time. So I did. And that is several years ago, and I've never had another experience of anything like that here. So there is the answer. You can run them out of your place.
Well, you can because it's faith-based.
Yeah, and if you are faith-based with the right group, you're going to win.
Yep. I read the book. That's true.
You're going to win. So. I'm so goofy that at night when I'm laying down and I say my prayers, I always say, if there was that battle between good and evil, please choose me, and please help me to do, kick some heavy duty demon ass.
Well, you train for that, so it's all good.
Well, who knows what they train for, though? I'm pretty
That's
sure
right.
They don't fight. Pretty sure they don't fight for it.
Well, everybody has their own skill set. And there's another question that says, do any of your neighbors have activity, too, that you're aware of?
Yes. As a matter of fact, there was another stunt guy, and he didn't live in the apartment next to me. He lived in the one after that. But I was talking about these black shapes that were flying through, and that would have been on the exact same line that would have gone through the next apartment and into his. Well, he had a 5-year-old daughter, just adorable, had a little lisp, and she'd always go, "Hi, Wick." It was
and
adorable.
you melted. Yes.
Yeah, I melted every time I'd see her. But anyway, she would come over and they would borrow movies from me because I have probably 400 movies, right? And I've probably watched 3 of them, I guess, because I got them from different sources. It's just gave them to me. So
right.
When all this started and that thing stood up and things, the 2 of them came over and knocked on my door. Now, I hadn't told anybody that I ghost hunted here, right? This was actually before we started the Hollywood Ghost Hunters, before we were on Ghost Adventures and all that. Anyway, they come over and they knock on the door and they say, the little girl says, I'm not going to say her name, but she goes, "Man, can I see some movies?" And I went, "Yeah, what do you want? Let me go in and look." And her father, who was another stunt guy, goes, "Can't we come in and look at them?" I said, "Let me get some for you." Right? And he looks at me and he goes, "Is your apartment haunted?"
Really?
Now, like I said, I hadn't told anybody about that. And I said, "Yeah, I think it is." And he goes, "Mine is so haunted, I got a priest to come over and bless my place because they had all these black shadows flying through there." So he was having the same thing happening down, 2 apartments down, to the fact that he actually moved down. So
it's different when when you're a parent and your children are living in an environment that you can't control.
Yeah, I've got nobody to worry about but me.
Right.
And frankly, I ain't worried about that other side because one day I'm going to be dead, and however I go, I want to go out manly, shall we say.
Yeah, I know you do.
If I get killed in a battle, okay, I'm okay with that. Because I will stand up for people getting bullied, even if I don't know them. Somebody's going to shank me someday, and that'll be the end of me, but it'll be worth it.
Well, because that's what you consider your mission is to care and protect. So you take it very seriously.
I've done that my whole life. And I do think, and you know this because you're the first person I told about this, my whole life, whenever I feel like something's going on, I feel like I have a sword in my right hand.
Yes, you do.
And because I love Scotland so much, and I have swords on my wall, I wanted to get a broadsword, one of these polypropylene ones, to practice with. And I looked online, and they're like $70, and I was like, I don't want to spend that much. And I debated like for 2 months, going, God, should I? Blah, blah, blah. So finally, I decided I would make one out of pipe, right? Wouldn't be very expensive, and you couldn't break it or anything else. So I said, okay, I'm gonna do that. And I walked out, and I went out to throw the garbage away, and there's a recycle bin, and laying in front of the recycle bin, a brand new polypropylene, all black broadsword.
Yep.
Is sitting there. Now, I know people don't like to, jump to conclusions, but there's a connection somewhere. Because in the book you'll read that there's things that just happen that I can't explain.
Yep.
But I'm glad they do. But I'm glad they do. And as you well, I say I only have one superpower. People are really nice to me, and they are. They're ridiculously nice to me. I mean,
it's not just individual. I mean, it's not just every so often either.
No, it happens all the time. And I really like it. I'm really happy. I mean, like I asked, a simple question: does anybody know any good ghost places to hunt? And I end up getting the Premier Paranormal Friends, the Anubis Friends, the Scottish Paranormal Friends. Now I have people at all the hotels that send me messages. Hey, when are you coming?
Yeah.
So I had a lady let me use her house for 2 weeks for free because my hotel.
That was crazy. That was crazy.
Well, you've seen the pictures of the 2 ladies. It's in the book. I mean, there's just so many things that happen. I just have to say that there is something else afoot.
You're cared for. You're taken care of.
Yeah, there is no doubt about that.
Yep.
There is no doubt about that. If anybody gets the book, it's at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. It's called Ghosts Believe in Me. But I put down these things where these people have gone so far out of their way from me that I don't even know. And, I mean, it's ridiculous. One guy, young guy that he was working at a gas station in Utah, and I had like no money. This is a long time ago. And I got a flat tire, and I had no spare, and I had to drive on the rim. When I got there, he says, well, it's going to cost you, it's pretty expensive to have a rim and the two tires. I said, dude, I've got about $80, and that's got to get me all the way to L.A. So he goes, all right. And he thinks for a minute. He goes, come on out back. So we go out back, and he brings these two brand-new tires with rims, and he goes, look, I just took this off my car and replaced mine. I'll charge you $40 for them. For the two tires and two rims, he says, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll take your left front tire off. I'll put these on the front. We'll take your left front tire, put it in the back. Now you got a spare too. So
there you go.
As he's going to put the tires on, he goes, oh crap! And there was another customer had walked in. It's like the middle of the night, and I said, what's the matter? And he goes, you tore up your lug nuts when you were driving on the rim. He says, I got to throw away the rim, but I don't have any way of putting the lug nuts on for your second tire. So this guy goes outside. I mean, I can't even believe this myself. He goes outside, he takes a lug nut off of each one of his tires and brings it into me so I can put them on my car. And I said, why would you do this? And he just looks at me and goes, I want you to get home.
There you go.
So I've always tried to do the same thing for other people.
You do.
But it's amazing that people do that, and it's very heartwarming too to know that there's people like that out there.
Well,
sometimes you can feel like an island unto yourself, but then every once in a while you come up with somebody that just really surprises you and makes you happy.
Well, lately we've been kind of being forced to feel like an island unto ourselves. And
that's true.
It's nice now that we're finding out that A, we survived that, but B, we don't have to be that. So
yeah, and
I think we're very blessed people.
I always try to be nice to every single person I meet, and it's
that's
not like
your
I have to
superpower.
try. That's just my nature.
That's your superpower.
But
that
you know
feeds
what?
the other one.
There is an equal side to that. Equal and opposite side to that. If somebody's picking on somebody, I do not take that well.
That's right.
Which I think everybody should do. I'm a big fan of John Wayne, and back then the good guys won. They stood up for the weak, and the ladies were treated like ladies, and that's pretty much the way I prefer to move along down the road until I am totally surprised by my demise.
Well, I hope it's a long time coming, my friend. We're out of time.
Dang it!
I know, right? But I have had the best time with you here. Thank you so much for joining me, because I really did want to celebrate you. I mean, this is just a wonderful thing that happened. So,
and the fact is that I didn't know a thing about it.
I know.
It was a great surprise.
Well, if you're going to get a surprise, that's the kind to get.
Yeah, and I was not giving you empty kudos. I really do think that promo helped a lot.
Well, I'm glad. I am glad, because, I really just felt like it was a little over my head initially, but I do them all the time, right? Just not that big. Yeah. So that was, to me, such a challenge and so much fun, and I appreciated you trusting me with that.
Well, I had seen the promos you would run for your shows before, and they were really good. So
Thanks.
I know this would be a little bit longer, but I knew you would do a good job. As a matter of fact, I don't think I even gave you any suggestions on it.
Well, you told me the style of music that you wanted something, like Braveheart.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
And I just went and pulled your pictures.
Yeah. I said, you do it. You do good stuff. You do it.
Yeah. And I think that, because I couldn't get rid of that blank space, I think that putting that EVP was brilliant on your part.
At the end, yeah. Well, I mean, it's just a good closing.
It was a great closing.
Well, that was the one I was talking about. You know, is there anything in the castle we have to be afraid of? And it goes, the energy. So I think, what more could you want for a ghost hunting answer?
That's it.
So, well, I appreciate being on, and I really appreciate the questions. And I look forward to meeting every single person that was listening, and maybe someday getting a ghost hunt with them. That would be wonderful.
Yes, absolutely.
I could make some more friends.
Well, if you get to Paulding, there's going to be several there from the chat, so it'll be fun.
I'm going to make it a point to get to Paulding whenever they have, an opening that I can make.
Cool. Well, I'll be there.
Well, I wouldn't go if Cat Hobson wasn't there. That's
Thanks.
Simple.
Well,
I mean, I've got that thing in Old South Pittsburgh, and I wouldn't have gone to that if Cat Hobson wasn't going to be there.
Well, we live across the country from each other. When we can find the same place to be in, be in the same zip code for a day or two to do, fun stuff and just visit, that's nice.
Well, it's not only that. I like the way you investigate.
Well, we complement each other the way we investigate.
We do, and that's why I say, I'm always happy to ghost hunt with you. And people out there, pay attention to Cat Hobson, for goodness sake. I'm going to start a radio show just so I can interview you. That's what I'm going to do now. That's my next task. I'll have it all done by tomorrow noon. Be ready.
Well, that is fun. So
yes,
and I do appreciate it. You're my biggest cheerleader in this field, and I like it. Thank you.
Well, you deserve it. I get, like in movie stuff, I see people that really deserve a break, and they never get it. And some of these people can, just like, let's just use you an example. You can dance rings around some of these investigators, that have their own shows and things like that. And it just, it bugs me a little bit. It's like, come on, man. Look around.
Well,
Cat Hobson's out there,
Everything works the way it's supposed to.
Well, I have one thing left to tell the people. I had a production company tell me, God, we'd love to have you on, but our demographic skews to a younger audience. I said, you ever see The Exorcist? The guy goes, yeah, scared the hell out of me. I said, yeah, they didn't call the younger priest.
I still think that's perfect. Because they were going to do something about fate. They were interested in a show, and they interviewed me.
Yeah.
And the first question was, how old are you? Which is illegal. And I don't care. I'm very proud to be my age. It doesn't bother me at all. I think that all things considered, I don't look half bad to be, ancient of days. So I just have a good time with it. So I answered her.
Well, you know what I always say? You can steal this. People always say, how old are you? Say, I'm not sure because I was just a baby when I was born.
That's excellent.
And then they go, really? But how old are you? I said, well, I'm not sure, but I have been around since the Dead Sea was only sick.
I've heard you use that. My usual thing is, well, how old do you need me to be?
Yeah.
I have learned to use that. How old do you want me to be?
Well, people ask me how old I am, like on an audition. I can put my hand on my hips and go, well, I can play younger, but not 17.
That's good. I like that.
117 maybe, but no. So anyway.
Well, we must go, or they shall flay my show with all kinds of extra ads. But I am just so glad to have had this chance to have you on the air. We don't do it enough. Because you are very modest. So.
Well, I've had some great experiences, but that doesn't solve other people. I just have the opportunity to tell people. That's the difference.
Well, it is. And I appreciate that. That's why I like having people that are relatively unknown in all the fields, really. So that people can hear them.
Well, just because you're
Guard
unknown
of-
doesn't mean that something fantastic didn't happen to you.
That's right. So,
I mean, look at the great stories you've got. And just because you never tell anybody, nobody knows.
well,
So get busy, Hobson.
I don't have a choice. You're pushy. But I'm doing it. I'm getting better. I am
Yes, I
sharing
am.
more.
Yes, well, you should. You got really good stuff. You got talent. You got. How many people know you were the world foosball champion? How many people know that you've had your own showing of your photography?
Probably not too many.
You have mad skills. Let people know about it. All right, I'm done. I'm done
All right.
yelling at you.
Away with you.
I'm away. Talk to you later.
Okay. Thanks. Thanks for being here.
Anytime, you know that. Bye.
Bye. For those who are listening, you know that I'm not going to go off the air without doing this because goodness knows there's such trying times. But you know what? If you don't like it, change it. Just make it so. Be the change you want to see. It's a big deal. And the more that you do that, the easier it gets. I know that our government is really pushing people to meditate. So much so that I got an app free for a year to do that with. I don't know where it is. It might be called Breathe. But, do what you need to do to make your world better. Smile. Make eye contact. If you feel unsafe, don't do that, but normally it's okay. And just make your world a better place for you and the other people around you. It's all it takes. Just a smile. See you next week. And be sure and join the Paranormal Pride tomorrow night. Tuesdays we're off. Wednesday I will be hosting Pete Haviland on Paranormal Experienced Radio. Thursday will be Full Spectrum Radio. And then Ghost Talk Radio on Friday. Take care. Good night.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.